Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Health Pod Africa, where we have conversations on healthcare in Africa and related issues, with the aim being to promote patient-centered care, improved access to affordable quality care, as well as resilient and sustainable health systems. I am your host, Cynthia Oloch. Now, today we'll be talking about grief, and I am joined by Steph. How are you, Steph?
I'm fine.
Now, Steph and I will share the lessons we have learned in grief. So I lost a son almost 7 years ago, and Steph lost her daughter this year in April.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into that, that's a nice t-shirt you have. Would you like to tell us a bit about your t-shirt?
Yes. First of all, my name is Stephanie Chantel Acheng. I am a mother to one angel. And she was quite a warrior, hence the t-shirt. She was to turn 9 years old this year, but she passed away at the age of 8.
Maybe for those who cannot see, I'm not sure if the camera is catching what is written. I'll just read it. In this family, no one fights alone. Aplastic anemia awareness. And thank you for taking us through that. And I'm sorry for the loss of your daughter.
Thank you.
Now, briefly, maybe you can tell us what is aplastic anemia before we go into our lessons in grief.
Okay. So aplastic anemia, as I've just said, is a rare illness. It's mainly the word, it comes from the word aplasia, where your bone marrow is not able to produce enough cells. Like, instead of your bone marrow working through your system and increasing the cells in your body, instead it sheds off.
Mm-hmm.
So with aplasia, you tend to have lack of iron. In the beginning, it may look like sickle cell, or it may look like any other blood-related minor illnesses. But with this, it might attack mostly the red blood cells or the platelets.
Mm-hmm.
So I would want to explain it in scientific form, but let me just use my fingers. For example, the DNA breakage in our system, most of them go with a flow of just moving like that.
Mm-hmm.
But with an aplastic patient, they're normally two like this. But this one will look abnormal.
Okay.
So it does start from the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
For it to have reached to someone physically, it has to start from there. So when yours is, the breakage system happens, then that's when it now starts to affect other areas of yourself in the body. So for my daughter, the main thing that the physical aspect that it took away from her was her physical look. She was such a small stature body, and her face was slender. The doctors call it bird-like. It's like how a bird's face looks like. So she was tiny in that form. She was not meeting the milestones that were expected. For her, at 2 years, she would look like she's months old. At 3 years, she would look like she's 1 year old. It's so bad because now you don't live like a normal person. You, from time to time, you definitely need to get transfused.
Mm-hmm.
You need a platelets transfusion. You need RBC being red blood cells transfusion. Sometimes your hemoglobin count also goes down.
Mm-hmm.
So generally, it affects the cells in the bone marrow.
Okay.
That's how I can just put it.
Your grief journey. Would you like to share maybe one lesson in what you've learned, and then maybe I can also share, and then we take it from there.
Oh,
Or do you want me to go first? What do you prefer?
so the one thing I have learned about grief is that it's not linear.
Mhm.
And I would also want to highlight it to the people who are not grieving their children or grieving anyone in particular. They should not expect someone to go from the here to here or from here to here. Reason being, looking at me today, I will tell you, I was not in a talking mood yesterday. And it's not something you wake up and plan and say, today I don't feel like talking. It's not something you'd say, let me try and, it just naturally depends on how the day will look like for you. And to give it a timeline is the most unfair thing to do to someone and to do to yourself.
That's true.
You cannot wake up and say, let me give myself 2 months. Let me give myself 1 month, I'll be fine. It does not work
Actually,
like that.
now that you've mentioned that, one of the points I had was that on this issue of you can't give yourself a timeline, grief can last forever. Grief can last forever. And I remember when I just lost my son, and I don't remember who told me that. And I was like, you cannot be serious that this will last forever, because it was painful.
Yes.
And I was like, I cannot, like when you tell me it lasts forever, I can't imagine living like this forever. But now I understand, I get it. And in fact, a few weeks ago, my mom told me the same thing, that, grief can last forever. And now I get it. And lasting forever doesn't mean you're in pain forever, because the intensity changes with time and how you grieve changes with time. Like, I think my way of grieving at the beginning is very different from how I grieve now. For me, this podcast is me dealing with my grief. Yeah. And of course, how I dealt with it back then was also very different. Yeah. So one of the points I had was that grief lasts forever, but forever doesn't mean that you'll be in pain forever. It doesn't mean that the grief will look the same. And I was just telling you that I had a year when I actually even forgot my son's birthday. Like, the day ended without me even thinking about him. Of course, you feel guilty. I felt guilty. But I think it's actually accepting for me that grief lasts forever, and it changes every year. It will not look the same. This year was year 6 for me since he passed away. And this year was tough. I think I cried the whole day. And so every year is different. Every year when his birthday reaches, or the month when he passed away, or, so yeah, it changes.
He was to turn 6.
Since he died. 6 years since he died. Yeah. And actually on his birthday is when I told myself, I am starting this podcast. I am talking about healthcare. So yeah, it lasts forever. It can last forever for some people. Like for me, I think I'm still grieving, but how the grief manifests itself changes every year. The intensity changes. Yeah.
But then do you feel like there is so much of you like gathering yourself in order to like start doing something? Did you have to like really sink in, or you just woke up and decided, now I need to do this because this is my way? Was it a tough thing? Or did you feel like, if I do this, it will work out for me emotionally and mentally?
So for me, and I think I like that you've mentioned emotionally and mentally, because I think everything I have done has helped me emotionally and mentally. So like at the beginning when he first, let me say the first year after he passed away, I founded an NGO. And for me, that was my way of grieving as well. So it's a non-governmental organization that focuses on the condition he had.
Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, the intensity changes. So at the beginning, I was very into it 100%. I still am. But the intensity changes with years, over the years. And what I do to grieve also changes over the years. How I deal with it changes. Do I question? I go with the flow. Like sometimes I tell myself, if one day I wake up and I don't want to do this podcast anymore, and I feel like this is not how my grief is manifesting itself, and it's okay. And you move on.
Yeah.
So for me, that's how I look at it. I'll do this for as long as I feel I need to, as long as I'm still interested in doing it. If one day I feel like this is not it, then I stop. And it's okay. If my heart tells me you want to do something else, you do
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think? So, okay,
Well,
maybe we move on to another lesson.
Yeah.
Do you have another one?
I remember on my daughter's funeral day, I had a relative of mine come to tell me, there are stages of grief. There is, I don't know, acceptance. There is
Denial.
There is denial. There is bargaining.
Yeah.
And I remember just listening to her words pass my ear like this, because what do you mean there are stages?
Yeah.
You cannot expect me to wake up this day and set my timetable that this week I will bargain because there's a bargaining stage of grief. I cannot say that is how it should be put, because there are moments where you don't want to be yourself. There are moments you quit on yourself. There are moments where you are overjoyed for no apparent reason. You just feel like being excited for that day, but it does not go like a whole day for me, because I might have a good mood for a few hours or so, and then boom, the grief brain has entered.
Basically, there's no formula.
There is no formula. And I remember going through some grief posts, and it had a list of those stages and everything. And then it goes all the way like this.
Yeah.
So they were drawing it, and then it reached down there at the bargaining stage, and then it all went like this. Like you don't go from up to down.
Exactly.
You go from left, right, center, up, down, left, And it's so bad, because that's how society wants to put it. That's when someone comes to ask me, "You're still grieving until now. You're hurting yourself." And then the African tradition of saying, "You're hurting your daughter's soul. You need to move. Your daughter will not be at peace. Now you're trying to guilt trip me over something I'm hurting."
How do you respond to that when people tell you
I
that?
don't respond.
Okay.
What do you want me to say? Because you telling me that I'm hurting my child's soul, I'm not doing it intentionally. And if my child is actually seeing me hurt like this, her soul definitely understands, if that's how you want us to put it. She does understand that I miss her.
That you miss her, yeah.
I mean, my baby Isla was literally my handbag. Anywhere I am, she's there.
Was she your only child?
She was my only child, and she was my first child as a teenager. I gave birth to her when I was 19.
Oh, wow.
So to have had a whole human being in my whole adult life. And one thing that my people are forgetting is I've been a mother my entire adult life till now.
So you don't know how to adult without a child.
Exactly. I don't know how to. So take it easy on me, because I cannot navigate this new person. I don't know who Stephanie is. I know Mama Isla, because Mama Isla has been Mama Isla since 19. So to give me those stages of grieving, it's very unfair. And this is probably the reason. And for those who are watching, now is when you guys know, it's the most reason as to why I'm not talking to so many of my friends and relatives,
because they keep telling you,
they keep expecting me, and it's bruising. They think to tell you by now you should have, or by now you should not. No, you're bruising me formula. Than you thinking you're helping me to heal. No,
and it can last forever. Yeah. Okay. Another lesson I think I've learned, or rather what I've seen, is that people grieve very differently, and that's okay. And I'll just tell you a short story. My son is buried at Langata Cemetery.
Okay.
And there was a time I went to visit his grave. I went by myself. And then I saw a group of other women literally having a birthday party at the cemetery.
Oh.
Cake and everything. A proper celebration. And I was like, so initially I didn't know what was happening. So me, I'm uku with my at my son's grave, and there's a group of, it was mainly women and children having a party with cake at Langata Cemetery. So one of them walked to me and asked me if that's my son's grave, and I said yes. And she told me we are celebrating someone's baby's birthday at the gravesite. So people grieve very differently.
Yeah.
And I was just glad that they had someone who was willing to accompany them to that birthday party, because there were a number of people and they were celebrating this birthday. So that's one thing I've learned. People grieve very differently.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's okay for people to grieve in the way they feel is best.
Yeah. That's one of the most important things to highlight on this topic of ours, because you would expect child loss that both parents would grieve the same way.
Oh yeah.
To be honest, I have seen many parents lose children, but you don't. I never got to see from their eye.
Yeah.
So once it happens to you, that's when you come and really learn that point that, okay, yeah, it's true that people do, because you know I cry every day, but I'm pretty sure the dad doesn't. Because one, the whole thing of men are not emotional people and everything. He is hurting. I'm not saying he's not. I know he's hurting because one, that's his first child. I gave him his first child. This is a child that we have been together. We have raised Ayla with him. But in the few months that we have been dealing with grief, I'm learning. It's still it's a learning in progress. Yeah? I'm learning that I should not measure how he is grieving, because I remember one time when it was her birthday and I was full of emotions, mixed emotions. I did have a celebration too. I did buy the cake, just that I didn't go to the grave. But then I remember being very emotional, and I had planned with him. I told him, let's go to a restaurant, cut the cake, have a moment, And probably to him, at that moment, that day, I was telling myself, he didn't show up. I was so angry about it. But then I called myself, like, nilijita mkutano, and I said, you know what? It's probably okay for you to have this cake shenanigan thingy, but for him, it's not. Because probably he will be triggered, and he's a man. He doesn't want to show those triggers to me. It's a new emotion for him. He doesn't want to express that. And we separated years back, but we have been co-parenting perfectly. So probably he's also backing off from me seeing this version of him. So I had to really sink myself down to understand that how I'm dealing with it is not how he'll deal with it. It's hard. Especially when this is your partner. This is you parented with this person. You expect him to cover you and tell you, we went through a lot, and he cannot do that. If he cannot, there are people who do that. They would prefer to like lock themselves in their own home and just cry every day. That's still fine. But if you have a partner, if you're grieving with a partner, I feel like it's important to just also let them deal with it in their own way. Especially children, like where you went through this kind of channel, like how we did. There was too many episodes of back and forth of in and out of hospital, getting lied to, and there's so many reasons to like sit down and say, you know what, we just need to cry. But if he doesn't, it's okay still.
Actually, I totally get what you're saying, because I also had assumed that my son's father would grieve the same way I was grieving. And just getting to accept that, even he will grieve differently. And accepting that the way I grieve is not the way other people will grieve, including my son's father. And at some point, I even bought a book. Do you know there's a book on how dads grieve? Because I just didn't get it.
It
I
does
bought
not.
a book.
It looks like it's just madness.
I
What do you
know.
mean you're not crying?
I bought a whole book just to try and get it because I didn't get it. But anyway, with time, you just understand that people grieve differently. Even the people closest to you will grieve differently.
Yeah.
Your parents will grieve differently for your
Oh
child.
my! Thank you for mentioning.
Yeah, your parents will grieve differently.
Oh.
And just accepting that everybody is grieving differently was a tough one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've mentioned parents, and let me tell you, my mom, and I would like to highlight that I have been backing away from her for a while. I haven't spoken to my mom for I can't remember the last time. And it's not being, I'm not being the rebel child or anything, but I was with her after the funeral and everything. I was there around July. By there, I mean Mombasa. Mombasa is home.
Okay.
So I remember the first week when I arrived, because everybody had gone. I stayed at the funeral site for a while. So when I arrived at my mom's place, the whole of that week, I think where Ayla was sleeping, that was my cave. That was where, like, if someone would come and ask, "Is Stephanie home?" Yeah, she is, but she's in the bedroom, in Ayla's room. And the reason as to why I'm highlighting the point of me not talking to my mom is she's also grieving.
Yeah.
But as a grieving mother, it's also hard to see your own mom not grieve the same way as you. With your partner, it's understandable. He's a man. For me to understand, I'm just singing to myself, he's a man, he's a man. But my mom, she's not so emotionally expressive. She's not, oh, I'm feeling like this. So, because again, another reason is I also understand because she has to be like that because she has autistic sons, my brothers. So she has to be strong in order to, she has to put that guard on for her to. But then again, I am also putting myself out there. I mean, I'm also your daughter and I'm also, but then for the betterment of the both of us, especially for me, I looked at it at the point of, I feel bad to not see you come and cry with me. And I also don't want to make you feel pressured to come and cry with me. I'm someone who also likes to, in as much as I want you to oye me, but I also don't want you to oye me because I've told you. Do it because you feel like it is okay for you to do it. So I'm simply saying that it's more like I'm avoiding to see, because the brain is also an enemy. My brain is telling me your mom has gotten over it, which is not the case. Because I remember one time we had a conversation and she came to me and told me, don't think I'm not grieving. I'm also hurting, because at some point she also helped big time in raising Ayla. That's her first grandchild. So she explained to me and told me I might not be airing it out here, but every day I'm hurting. It's just that I also have to be strong for you guys, and but then the brain, post-grief, Cynthia, I can tell you, post-grief, the biggest thing I have seen is that the brain can be your worst enemy, because it's giving me scenarios. It's telling me your mom has healed. You can't see your mom is okay. People are okay and you're not okay. Your brain can tell you things like that.
Yeah.
And
While they're just grieving in their own way.
And they're just grieving in their own way, but your brain doesn't want to tell you that. Your brain is telling you, hey, your people are okay, you're not. Look at you. And then you start feeling like, why am I like this? You start loathing yourself. You start hating yourself. Like, why am I the only one crying? But then I backed away from her because of that. Because I feel like, let me take some time off from. Actually, I live by myself because of also seeing my peers. People are living, people are okay, people are going places, people are doing things, and your brain is busy telling you, these people, they just came to bury your child and they left. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's very hard to navigate yourself with the rest of the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
Especially for me right now. Since April, it feels like, to me, it's still very, very early. But then again, the brain will tell you, it's been 7 months ago.
7 months is the other day. It's still
just
very
the other,
fresh.
But then when you see it from other people, to
Yeah.
them, it looks like
Yeah.
it's been a while.
I remember waking up every day and I would be like, Yanni, life is going on. Then you wake up the next day and like, life is going on. And then life goes on, you know?
But your brain doesn't want to accept that.
Yeah.
Your brain wants you to be in the moment of you're grieving. You're going through it, I feel like as an individual, that timeline should be raised, to say that it's only been 7 months. I remember someone once told me it was month 2 now. This is May. Oh, how have you been? You've gone back to work. I'm like, I haven't gone back to work. Majorly because I'm a chef by profession. And I took that profession because of Ayla. And why? Because food was a major aspect in her life. Okay, in everybody's life.
Yeah.
But when it comes to food and the condition that she had, and at that time I hadn't known the condition. So I was like, I need to understand more, let me get into this system of, feeding and everything. And why I feel like for me right now to go back to work in the kitchen is a very toxic environment for a grieving person. For someone as emotional as I am, I'm a July baby. They say cancers are very emotional people, which I am. I accept that. The kitchen is a very toxic environment for someone such as me, because one, there is pressure. I don't know if you've ever gone to a restaurant and mistakenly passed by where they serve the food. You hear the chef shouting, 2 minutes! And the least thing you want is someone shouting at you when you're hurting. That's one. 2, you're holding knives. Like the knife is the pen in the kitchen, And someone can say something, during the less busy hours, people have time to chit chat. And we are humans. Some people say things, and one thing can trigger you somewhere, and you might end up maybe losing track of what you're doing and maybe chop off your finger, or probably even just get pissed off at someone and threaten someone with the knife, which is very bad in the law, like holding like,
So you don't feel you're ready to go back to the kitchen?
I'm actually considering ending that chapter of my life of being a chef, because now there is no reason for me to continue with that.
Grief also makes people make life-changing decisions.
Exactly. And you will be, I think you'll be glad to hear what I'm about to tell you. I'm really thinking about joining the medical.
Wow. Good for you.
I want to just basically where children are involved. I'm not sure where, but I know somewhere down the line I will be working with children. I just need to know and understand illnesses surrounding kids. That is something I'm hopefully, maybe.
Now that you mentioned children, I've thought of something else. Many people, when they lose a child or something, seeing other children is normally a trigger for some people. For me, it wasn't. So for me, when I lost my child, do you know I would spend my weekends in children's homes?
No way.
Yes. Because I was so used to taking care of a child that just now there's no child to take care of. I would spend my weekends.
It's expected to be vice versa.
No, for me, I enjoyed
what?
it. I liked going to children's homes, and then a friend of mine introduced me to a children's home in Kiambu, because I was like, now which children's home do I go to? I didn't know of any at the time. So I started going to children's homes.
No way.
Yes, and that gave me comfort. And even seeing my friends who had kids my son's age gave me comfort.
No.
Yes, it did. And seeing their children hit their milestones, seeing their children starting school, for me, that gave me comfort. For other women, I hear it's not always like that.
I am the other women.
You're the opposite.
I am the other women. Let me tell you, I live right across a community hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I've already known their timetable. Tuesdays and Thursdays is clinic day.
So you
Tuesday is
avoid-
clinic day for the pregnant ones.
Uh-huh.
Thursday is clinic day for the kids. And those are the days that I shut my curtains.
Because you don't want to see them.
You would think that you're a bad person.
Mhm.
Like, why are these kids here? I hate that about myself right now. But
I think it's normal. It's a
but
trigger.
that is how I am. That's not how I used to be.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, and then again, I get upset. I'm like, surely, did I have to see that? Because you can hear kids. That is the time I put my volume to 100. Music, I don't want to hear kids. Because, on the clinic days, you're seeing many kids there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my child would have been here,
Mm-hmm.
I would have seen. Because most of the time, my mom was with my baby in Mombasa and I was working in Nairobi. So I used to have just one off day, which sometimes I used to steal those days. And then every time I feel like, oh, I miss my baby, SGR, Mombasa. But then now I see other kids, I'm like, I can't SGR myself to my child.
Yeah.
I can't phone call my baby. So it triggers me in the sense that would have been my child in the midst of these kids. And then one time I was at the shop and a school bus passed. Do not judge me for this. Don't think I'm going crazy or anything. But the school bus, in my head, I saw my kids, my child's former school. You know how they paint the name of the school on the bus? I saw that name. And for a split second, you used to hear the word split second until you actually experience that split second. Something was telling me, stand and wait for Isla. I had that moment, and that is when I knew, okay, my grief is grieving, because then what was that?
Yeah.
You think that now, I think maybe it wasn't the acceptance point. Your brain wants to tell you, your kid might not have gone. But then again, you come back to reality and then you're mad again. And then you see these kids. And then now I got so angry. I remember just sitting down the opposite, not the bus was on the other side. I started sitting the opposite side and I wailed. I cried. And then this mama came and told me, what has happened to you? What's going on? Why are you crying? And then I just told her, I have a very bad, I came up with an excuse. I told her I have an aching back. She's like, should I help you home? I was like, no, let me just sit. Because I knew if I stood up at that point, that bus would have passed me. So I made sure to have had that bus pass so that I can continue going back to my house. Seeing kids and pregnant women.
Even now, is it still a problem? Like when you see other children?
It's still a problem, but to a certain extent.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, why am I not feeling so heavy burdened that my kid is not here and this one is here? And there's that one of, they're so lucky that they're here, But then again, I'm saying to a certain extent because currently I'm supporting this child who's also fighting aplastic anemia. He was the same age as Ayla. Currently, they're in Egypt. He's also receiving his bone marrow transplant. I remember meeting the family before they left. And before meeting them, I had seen his TikTok. Instantly, magically, my heart just melted. You know how you felt like, I need to see this boy. And you would think that I'm trying to place my heart, like my heart, my broken heart into him because of the experience. But it's because I have actually found a child who has the same story as my child. And I want to be in his story, which I am, because one, the mom is out there. She's also just like me. She's in four corners of a room. She hasn't gone anywhere. She's expected to stay there for more than 45 days. I know how she's feeling. Like, she's living she's in the chapter of my book. Like, So
I've seen you post about
he's
them.
So far, him and my godson, I have a godson from my best friend who gave birth to him last year. Those are the two children that I'm comfortable with. And for my godson is because I was there when she was giving birth.
Okay.
So there's that connection still, It's funny. You would want to, the viewers might be like, that means you're choosing. I'm not choosing. Because one, for my godson, we bonded. I would call it spiritually, because that's an innocent soul.
Yeah.
And for this one, his story is no different from mine.
Yeah.
So as a mom, it would be wrong of me to look away when I know, because probably this mother would want to know so much, which before they left, I had to
you
take
can
her
support
through,
them because you've gone through it before.
Yeah.
So they can benefit from your experience, and you can support them through the journey.
Even right now, we talk about she'll tell me, oh, this happened. Is it normal? And then as soon as I'm done talking to her, my heart feels like, you've talked to her, she's feeling relieved, I'm relieved as well. You see,
that's nice.
So
yeah,
it's funny. I cannot
No, it makes
stand
sense.
seeing
Imagine it's
other
not funny.
children.
It's not funny. Like, it makes sense. And I think it's normal.
Is it though?
Yeah, people deal differently.
Because I never knew I would come to dislike other kids. I like children.
It's not really disliking, but it triggers you. It takes you to a dark place. It takes you to, the loss of your daughter. And I think it's a normal emotion. Yeah, I think so.
Probably.
Okay, let me see. What other lessons have we learned?
Religion. I think religion is one of those things that are shaken.
Yeah.
When it comes to grieving a child,
How has that affected you in terms of religion?
Oh, majorly.
For me, getting into a church was a problem.
Yeah.
For a very long time.
Tell me about it.
For years, actually. Going to church was tough, and I would go when I must, But yeah, so I get what you mean about religion. How did it affect you in terms of religion?
Okay. I grew up with exposure to a couple of these religions. Like, I was once a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I've experienced the Catholic and everything. And in all that combined together, they're one of the things that you can all relate to. And there's that one statement that they teach us, that children are innocent beings.
Yeah, so why were they taken?
So with that innocence, for me to grieve in this way, that right now I will tell you, I have no religion at this point. I've backed away from believing that Christianity and Islam has taught us that God is very merciful God, very loving. He is the guide. He guides us and protects us and everything. But then it would have made more sense if I had aplastic anemia. It would have made sense if her dad had aplastic anemia. You know why?
Yeah.
Because if you're suffering as an adult, you want to tell yourself, hey, I'm paying karma. Karma has visited me. There are some things I have done,
the same way.
Yeah, it would make more sense.
Because you feel like, I'm the sinner.
I'm the sinner.
The baby is the innocent
exactly.
one. Why is
and you don't just view it to yourself. You also view it to other children.
Yeah.
There is when you go through the social media and see other moms also, their kids are suffering from cancer, these funny diseases, they die, and you're like, what is the aspect of religion if innocent beings also suffer then? We are made to believe that these are the only ones who are going straight to heaven, if they're today, they're going straight to heaven, It's not making sense to me till this day. Back then, before grief, I was trying to maneuver my mind towards understanding the whole aspect of God and innocence and death. But at this point, I asked myself, until you wear that shoe is when you're like, is there really,
you question things.
You really question a lot. Another thing that I also question on the aspect of religion is when people tell you, your daughter is not suffering anymore. She's gone to heaven. She's an angel now. I'm like, but that's not how it works.
Yeah.
If he really needed angels, he would have created. Hasn't he created them?
Yeah.
In the Bible has told us that he has angels up there. Hasn't he created the angels there? Did my child have to go through the suffering? I mean, she suffered literally her entire life. So you mean for him to have created an angel? So angels are created from disaster or what? You know? So I really tried. And Cynthia, I'm telling you for a fact, and this is something even the viewers, my friends and family saw while I was in the journey of looking for healing. I would post that I'm so happy, so many good memories, eyelined eye. And many of my friends and family would be like, how are you doing it? How are you like, your child is going through the most unfair thing. I was so strong in faith to the last.
You believed she would be fine, and
just like we spoke earlier on,
Yeah.
and you're asking me like, you mean you believed till like even the first transplant didn't work, the second transplant didn't. I was like, yeah, God is. I used to write Bible verses every day. Like I read, write. I used to listen to Pastor T.D. Jakes, and he would empower me every morning. I remember one time, most of the time when the Isla's doctor would come and visit and be like, oh, usual church service. Yes, usual. That was my everyday. If I'm not listening to Bible verses, I'm listening to religious songs, like I would just make sure there is spiritual presence surrounding me and my baby in that room. Because if I didn't have that, I would have lost it, till the last, even when the doctor was telling me her heart is stopping, I told God, this man, I've sent him back to go and make sure that heart should stop stopping. I remember telling,
beating.
I wasn't even praying.
Yeah,
I was now telling God, Sasa, by the time they're intubating her in the beginning, the doctor had already told me, it's going to be a very sensitive procedure. There's risk of this and this and this and this and this. So I remember in that room, there was a partition, like a glass partition, and we were told to sit on the other side. My mom was there, and my mom was really praying for the procedure to go so well. And I remember seeing myself crying, but deep down, I was like, so what do you want, God? What is this you're telling this doctor to come and tell me? I remember not praying. I just told him, you better make this procedure go through. I have been believing in you since even before they even gave me the diagnosis. Even when they gave me the wrong diagnosis in Kenya, I believed in you. Even when we were being told treatment will cost 6 million, and in your account you have literally nothing, I still believe that everything will go well. So when the news of I'm sorry, that was when I quit.
Your faith.
That is when, my faith was shaking that day. But where it broke completely was on the reality of the day of seeing my child go under. Like when she went, I buried my faith with her there because
grief can really affect one's religion and your faith. Now, I think we need to be wrapping up. Any parting shot as we wind up?
I would want to speak to those who are supporting moms that are grieving. I'm highlighting on moms because that's what I can relate to right now. If you are having a mother that is going through what I'm going through, please just do what they wish. If they tell you, I don't feel like leaving the house, don't force them. If they if you've called them this week and they have not picked up their phone, don't judge them. Don't be like, ata shikange simu yangu siku hizi, that kind of thing. No. Because probably at the time when you're calling, maybe she's breaking. Maybe she's in the moment. Maybe she's going through that one moment that she needs for herself. I'm speaking in third party because now I have ignored a lot of calls. Sometimes I even want to block, but there are some I can't. Why? Because
Is it people checking up on you?
Some are them checking up on me, and some are more of thinking that if they take me out of the house, I'll be fine.
Okay.
Let's go out. What are you doing this weekend? Like, what do you mean you're asking me what am I doing this week? I'm in my house.
You don't want to leave.
I don't want to leave, especially with the my house setting. There are pictures of Isla everywhere. And if it's not pictures, it's something about her. Maybe her toy is somewhere in
What
there.
can they do to support you?
Well, till this day, I have only had a few moments with my best friend where she would ask me, do you feel like talking about it? Do you feel like talking about Isla? But I've not had someone actually tell me, do you remember when Isla?
Because they're afraid of triggering you.
Well, ask.
I know.
Even
I like talking about it,
exactly.
but I get that people feel that they will trigger me if they ask. But exactly. I don't mind. In fact, I like it. I like talking about
because, it. Because, there are some people who know Isla socially on social media. I used to post about her when just doing silly things and everything. There are those who would text me through there.
Yeah.
And then there are those family, the ones who are close, those who actually experienced her, know. Those are the kind of people I would want them to just come and say something like, I just thought of Isla this one time. Do you remember when she was like this?
Yeah.
Like you can say that and then you ask, do you feel like talking about it? Do you want us to talk? Yeah. That is the last thing I, as a grieving person, a grieving mother, the last thing you want to hear is, why are you still sad? Don't be sad. Stop being so low. There's more to life. You can't continue like this. That is the worst thing. I actually hate it. I hate when I hear someone giving me the expectation of.
Yeah, actually, it is their expectation.
It is your expectation.
But your reality is different.
But my reality is different. You're not wearing my shoe. But for you, how I would want you to help me is that. And also, there are moments where you want to find that one person who will physically hold you and tell you whatever you're feeling, let it out. Yeah. There is a difference of, I'm feeling like this and I cry a lot. You've seen my TikToks.
Yeah.
I cry a lot. But sometimes I want someone to just, are you home? Yes, I'm coming. Mm-hmm. Do you want me to come? Or do you want me to come? Because sometimes you might say I'm coming and then I switch off my phone and I lock my door. So do you want me to come over? If you're feeling some type of way, okay. Yeah. Just hug this person. Yeah. Don't ask anything. Don't, just hug this person and just tell this person, whatever it is you're feeling, let it all out. Like that, because sometimes we don't want to really say too much about, I'm feeling like this. I haven't, especially when you say like, I haven't eaten since. You haven't eaten? You should eat, you should drink water, you should. I didn't feel like eating at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think just to conclude, I'll just say that grief can be very lonely, even when you're surrounded by people who love you. Like you said, people are calling you and stuff like that. So it can be a very lonely journey, even when surrounded by people who love you.
True.
And it helps to have maybe that one understanding person or two who get it, because not many will get it. Mm-hmm. And particularly because we all grieve differently, not many people will get it. And it's okay if they don't get it, but it's nice to have a few people who understand you and people you can lean on and people who can support you.
You've said a very good thing. Like, there are people who are living with their families and they still feel alone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Grief is funny.
It can be very lonely even when you're surrounded by people who love you.
And it's very unfair to feel that way towards yourself.
Yeah. So it's important to have support. Have you done therapy, if you don't mind me asking?
Let me tell you.
As we wrap up, we're running out of time.
Let me tell you. I have gone 3 times.
3 times, okay.
And first of all, I'm a bit upset over why is therapy that costly? Maybe after this you might explain. I know that there are some that are not, you don't get to pay, but I'm very sure you sit down with grieving people and you ask them, why are you not going to therapy? They will tell you about the financial aspect of it.
I think there's some free ones.
Yes, there are, but now to get them is also another thing.
Yeah.
One.
And how many people know about them anyway?
Exactly. Yeah. 2, to sit down and tell a stranger, this is how I'm feeling, da, 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 da. And then when I went, this person is just, you know, like, okay, so tell me about.
But you also need to find one that you're comfortable with and that
maybe
works for
that's
you.
my problem, because I felt bad, because you see, like, you know why I'm I was comfortable with you as soon as, you know, we've never met.
Yeah.
But I was comfortable with you because you're engaging my conversation with you, you know. Don't make it look like we're in an exam room, you know. Tell me about. No.
Stephanie, I think
maybe
you just need to find the right one.
But it's tiring. It's tiring, because you're like, I went to this one, but it didn't help me. I went to this one. So like, if these 2 didn't help me, then
when you're ready.
Because another thing is also, your therapist, if your therapist helps you, she might not help me.
That's true.
Because the therapists I went to were like, I know this therapist, she's so good. Apparently, she's not good for me. You know.
I hope you find one that works for you. And I'd like to thank you so much for agreeing to this.
No, thank you, actually.
Thank
because
you very much for agreeing
you
to
definitely know that you've seen me talk about my
I've
story.
Seen you talk about it on
I
TikTok.
rarely leave my house.
We are meeting for the first time.
We are meeting for the first time. So
and it's been a good conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. Hopefully someone out there has learned something from it. And I hope you find a therapy that works for you.
Well, if I don't, I have something in plan.
Yeah.
Probably it's one of the best advices one of my cousins gave me. She told me, go do gym, like go to the gym and release it all out, you know. Because also another thing is also, I don't sleep so well. I sleep at very odd times. I'm very insomniac. So she's like, it's also therapeutic, and it's also going to help you tire yourself out and you'll sleep well. So yeah, I hope you find something that is my probably, if it will help me, I believe so.
Yeah, I hope it helps. Great. This has been nice.
It has been.
Thank you all for joining us on this episode. This brings us to the end. I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.